It's been eaten. I forgot everything I just said. I can't lie to you. I'm not going to include that one. I got 3 hours sleep a night whilst writing this. So it was hard. It's a really hard question. Conversation around men reading certain books. I think I'm one of those people that it takes a while for me to finish a book. A lot of men are often presented that question but don't know how to approach it. Yeah.
Henry Christian Jump.
And a new series came out for that one.
Wealthy or to prosper.
My name is McKenzie-Goddard. I am the author of SMALLIE. I'm from North London, originally Barnet/Enfield, and this is my debut novel. I brought 4 books in total. They're all fiction-based. My book is called SMALLIE. It's about the Windrush scandal. It's a fiction story told about an elder, so a grandmother that's threatened with deportation. So it starts when she arrives in 1961 until kind of the end of what happens when she receives a letter from the Home Office. And then I also brought quite a few different books. So I bought a book called All the Lovers in the Night by a Japanese author called Maiko Kawakami. This one is about a lonely proofreader in Japan as she tries to figure out different things in her life. She meets someone, falls in love, but she has this inner kind of awkwardness that she has to face. I would recommend this book. It definitely has a lot of reflection, but also culturally, it's insightful. You learn a lot about Japan. James Baldwin, If Beale Street Could Talk. This book is probably one of the most famous books by James Baldwin. It was a film that came out a number of years ago. I think it's over 10 years now. And it focuses on the protagonist, Trish, who's a young woman who is trying to fight for the father of her son, who's in prison for a crime that he didn't commit. If you want to know what a good sentence looks like in a book, read Baldwin. If you want to understand craft in general, read Baldwin. So I'd recommend this book, absolutely. And then lastly, another GOAT is Maya Angelou. So she wrote a book called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. So this is a memoir and it focuses on her childhood. She had quite a traumatic childhood, but from a young age, she's been quite a poetic writer. This book, in my opinion, has the best first liners for chapters that I've read in general. And I often go to it for inspiration to figure out how to write my sentences and what I think they should look like. I'm West Indian, so I have a Jamaican and Bajan background. And I grew up in North London, so I was always kind of surrounded by like West Indian culture. My grandfather was in the army, and that's the reason that my family came to the UK originally. And then my grandmother came later on, but they left my uncles behind, essentially. And I didn't know much about that until I got a bit older. I didn't even know I had 3 uncles out in the Caribbean. My grandfather passed and my grandmother passed as well. He came into my life, he being my grandfather, quite late because he had something called shell shock, which is now kind of complex PTSD. And over time, I learned more about his story, who he was, and understood there were some immigration challenges at the time that the Windrush scandal was happening. So for me, I was going through this period of grieving for a long period of time, and I wrote this novel to kind of cement how I felt and how kind of other people likely felt as well during the height of, British identity politics. There's a character in my book called Javan, actually named after my youngest cousin. For me, the story of Javan is ultimately looking at generations in a slightly different way. A lot of us West Indians, I'll say black people in general, we grew up with this idea that the elders lead. And I actually find we need to look towards the youngest of us to say, where are we going? Like, what is the decision? A lot of men are often presented that question but don't know how to approach it. I think we often communicate in a way of leadership when it comes to men. And I find that actually destroys a lot of community because you can't have a community full of all leaders. You need someone who is willing to lead sometimes if they have the skill set. I think, or at least I hope, my novel presents a young boy trying to figure it out. And also what happens to a man who, travels to this country and doesn't know where he's going. He took a bet on coming here. But also relationships with women as well. That's probably one of the most important things within the novel. So one thing that writing has taught me is, I think I have a lot more perseverance than I give myself credit. I think writing requires you to get past the hard parts. There'll be times where you look at the page and you actually don't know where you're going, but you know you need to get it done. And so I've found myself in that position for ages. I say this not as a success or kind of something to boast about, but I would get 3 hours sleep a night writing this book. And I think I had to find a place within myself to get this thing finished. And I'm grateful to say it's an opportunity that I've had and I've actually reached the goal that I wanted to, which is being published. Understanding character and relating that to my experience with people. I feel like I have a lot of deep relationships, and I didn't realize how deep they were until I kind of heard people talk about the emotional landscape of my book, which I think is the biggest compliment I've received. One thing that books allows you to do is step outside of your life for however long you're reading it, which is something that I would say a lot of men could probably benefit from. Stress is something that we deal with, and I'll say that, you know, men, women, whoever all deal with stress, but we don't deal with stress in the most acceptable ways all the time. And I think that's where reading can come in sometimes. Take a break from your life, take a break from what's being asked of you in the present moment. Probably what depression looks like in women. I think it doesn't look exactly the same in men. And I'd say from reading the book, there are definitely signs that the protagonist is struggling. And I think that's one thing that writers learn very early, kind of showing versus telling. And this book does a great job of someone who's quite meticulous in the way that they read and edit, because they're a proofreader, not being able to put the words together for how they're actually feeling. I think a lot of men should read. I don't like using should. I think it'll be an idea if men read books with women as protagonists, because it gives insight to a world that we will never experience. And I think equally, women should read books that have men as the protagonists as well, because there are just things that in our day-to-day we just don't understand. And the book allows us to feel. At least a good writer should give you the opportunity to feel. So I'd say read the books that don't sound like you, because it's an opportunity for you to see life in a slightly different way. I would say the most impactful for me is probably the Maya Angelou one. Impactful, it's a hard question. It's between these two, so James Baldwin and Maya Angelou. Main reason is because they both kind of talk about the same thing. Maya Angelou is more about her experience as a woman. This is equally about a woman's experience, but about a crime that affects women. So yeah, so I have one of these two, I would say. Don't put yourself under pressure to read an entire book. That's not what you're there to do. I think it's an achievement to pick up something and read a page or read a sentence. You don't pick up a book thinking you're going to finish it every single time. I've put down books countless times. You read page by page, not book by book. So I didn't realize how inspired by music I was. I think I'm more inspired by music than I am books, which is probably not what a lot of writers say. And so I did this thing that I learned from Stephen King, which was to play a song on repeat over and over again in order to get into the mode of writing. And I also used to skip before when I was stuck, essentially. And I found like the physical aspect of skipping till I was exhausted got me out of my head. And then also the music allowed me to just focus on what I was writing equally at the same time. So I had to go through a process of finding that ritual that worked for me, and it just so happened to be those two things. So yeah.
Do you have any other tips for up-and-coming authors?
I always pause when people ask me that question, because I think everyone approaches the work in a different way. So I know some people that can knock out a whole book in 2 weeks, but then I know some people it takes years, and I think I'm one of those people that it takes a while for me to finish a book. I hope I'm quicker next time. I would say immediately kind of get rid of the idea of comparison. Your book is going to sound completely different to someone else's. That's just the reality of the situation. And I would also just say get rid of the idea of what you think a book should be. There's so many people that have written things that just don't look what a standard book that you'll pick up in a library looks like. It is an art, in my opinion, and I think anyone can approach it in a way that works for them. So I'd say, yeah, just show up every single day and just be true in what you're writing. So the focus of this page is to talk about men reading, literature and stuff like that. And I oftentimes see conversation around men reading certain books and there being issues with certain books, which I completely hear and I understand. I have read those books as well. I don't need to name them. I think a start is something that's to be encouraged, but equally, I understand why there are criticisms of those books. With men, we need to do a better job of encouraging each other to pick up something slightly different to what is considered the norm, and also understand that we're not reading to necessarily become more efficient all the time. There's a space for that, but I do understand that sometimes life requires you to pick up something that makes you more efficient as a person. But I just think as a community, there's a lot more as men we can do by sitting with each other and just reading together. Because there are a lot of book clubs for men and stuff like that now. So yeah, I think seeing that, I'm encouraged by it. So that's all I would say. I'm Eden. You're watching What's the Mandem Reading. I'm the author of SMALLIE, which comes out May 7th. And you can find me on Eden McKenzie-Goddard on Instagram. Cool. That work? Yeah? Are you sure? Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you guys.